What are the common challenges college students are facing these days?
So we've already hit upon, some of those. Some poor study habits is one of the most critical. College, for some students, it's this the whole independence that mom and dad have been running your life, and they just can't handle the freedom that now you get to call your shots, and so you decide what activities you're going to do, and for some students, that means being with their friends all the time. I remember that I was just totally fascinated that at UT I could go to the swimming pool, the sauna. You've got games, you've got parties, the whole shebang, all kinds of options other than studying, And so that's a challenge, the discipline to stick with your studies, and then the financial piece, and that. The maturity just hasn't kicked in. Even, when I think about I was there on a 4-year scholarship. All I needed to do was I needed every semester to go to my financial person and sign some papers. Do you know that they still had to call me on a regular basis to say, will you please come here and sign these papers? That was just trifling, just lacked what I needed there. Those are two big ones, and
Okay. Yeah, I think we already kind of mentioned those things, like Dr. Green said. One thing I would like to add is knowing your potential. If you're joining an AV school, you better be good student, because the students that you face there are stellar students. So just because your friend wants to go there and you insist to be there, may be a disaster. That's not a good idea. And I see this peer pressure. Oh, my friend is going to this university, I must go there. Can you do that? Are you ready for this group? Because those universities take the best ones. So you're competing with those. So that could be something that you should be thinking, because I've seen students couldn't make it because they're sitting with 5-star students. So that's another way of looking on where to go. What is your potential? You know it. So it's good. You just not go because your friend is going there.
That's an excellent point. There's that time management piece of, I say, if mommy and dad is still waking you up to go to school every day, you got a problem, because they're not coming to college with you. You're going to need to learn to manage yourself. And so all of those, that you can't spend money over here to go to this concert if you've got to pay tuition and fees. And so there's just a whole maturity piece that I see lacking in students, not making good decisions, not being able to solve just typical problems. And it even boils over into relationships. Your roommate is doing things. I remember I roomed with someone who had gone to high school with me. Who knew that when we got to college and decided to be roommates, that she decided to start smoking, and that I had to have that conversation of, let us not smoke in the room where we both are living, and then I saw she was going to smoking when I go to sleep. I said, I'm still breathing when I'm asleep, and and so to be able to have those kinds of conversations,
Right.
and solve them, being able to have to talk with your professor, and so problem-solving skills. And that's something that parents can start working with their students. Again, managing your life, solving problems, managing your time. It's what the kids call now adulting. You need to become an adult.
If we are going to talk about money, can you please tell us how much would it cost for a student to graduate?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, colleges are like business. So we run like a business. So they take a lot of money. So if you have a 4-year in-state tuition, in-state means you live on a state and you go to the college of your state. That's called an in-state tuition. So just for classes, you pay $7,000. This is tuition and fee. It's $7,000. And then for room, if you're doing room and boarding, it's around $8,000. And then there's books, there's supplies, it's around $1,000. There's a personal expense. Especially when you get college, you gotta eat, you gotta wear, got so many things. It's expensive, and then travel. So if you add up all this, you will spend $15,000 to $20,000. This is for in-state college tuition and boarding. So it's very expensive. It's not easy. If you go private, if you go out of state, double it or triple it. So we're talking about $20,000 per year, and then take it to 4 years, $80,000. It's just assuming you graduate in 4 years, and only 50% of students graduate in 4 years, and 60% graduate in 6 years. So if you graduate in 6 years, that makes it 120. It's like a mortgage house. So it's very expensive. But then, is it worth it? If you do it right, if you plan it, yes, it is. There's a return on investment. Anything that you pay for education, if you do it right, you can pay it back through many ways. Sometimes you don't have to pay it. Somebody's going to pay it. But then, remember, when you do your college major, that's when you choose your major, you got to see what is the career. How much am I getting from this? Can I pay this back? So there's a resource that tell you what kind of careers can you do and what's the entry level salary for that. So you can calculate. That's one reason for you to do your major decisions, is what's the return on investment, right? So the other thing colleges are worse is, remember, things are changing. It's high tech. Even if you want to drive your Tesla, you need some knowledge. You can't just go and then drive it. It's high tech. There's a computer there. You need to learn how to set up the features. A lot of jobs are being automated. It will be different, especially for those kids right now, high school. Think of 10, 15 from now. It's going to be a different world with a different skill requirement.
One of the things is I think about my education that, I didn't stay in any of the fields, except for the doctoral, program, but that I had that flexibility. I was able to, as they say, pivot and do different things. That there had been that, because I had basic education kinds of things that were taking place, that I was able to see my way to doing something else. That basically it says you'll follow through on something, so a degree sends that signal, and that I am willing to learn what I need to learn. So I'll follow through, and I can manage my own learning process. I've had friends who have, for whatever reason, have been out of the workplace, and they are amazed that there aren't, these great training programs. That back when they went to the workplace, they had, a big training program or whatever. A lot of companies don't have that now. That you will be in charge of knowing, getting at what is it that I need to know in order to do this job. Well, I've had several jobs that I was the first one in that role, that the company identified a need and that they need somebody to do it. I had to go in and build the relationships, define what the strategy is going to be, what are the goals we're looking to do, what kind of money is it going to take to pull it off, meet the people I need to meet, train up some people to work with me, or whatever it took. And that's the nature of the workplace now. And so going to college gives you those tools to help you to do those kinds of things. And as Dr. Moges mentioned, that there are ways to reduce those costs. So for example, yes, you might live on campus, but you don't have to be in the suite by yourself. You might be in one of the older dormitories with some roommates. that's going to be, cost less. You might bring your car. You may not park it in the garage. That's going to be more expensive. You might park yours in the lot that's not as close as, some of the other lots. That there are strategies. You may not, peanut butter and jelly might become your best friend for a while, as opposed to that glorious meal that you were getting at home on a regular basis. And so all of these things come into play. And then you may not, institutions are going. He talked about in-state versus out-of-state, but you might decide to go to a community college for some basic courses. They're going to be less expensive than a four-year institution. You may take advantage, he mentioned AP courses, that you can get college credit for some courses while you're still in high school. And so that reduces your costs. And so to look at these different strategies for reducing the cost, but truly worth it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will add to this. I'm an engineer, so I like numbers. So I can give some numbers here that you can reduce your costs. Number one, like I said, is grades. I have a data here. This is from Freshman Merit Scholarship Program. This is for freshmen. And then this is a national merit. It's a nation. It's a federal grant. Now, they have a test score. If you score 1,500 to 1,600 SAT, 1,500 to 1,600, and then if you rank top 10% on your high school, you receive 9,000 per year. So grades make a difference.
Yeah.
If you rank 11 to 20% with the same SAT score, you get 8,000 and 6,000 and 4,000 based on your ranking. So this is just because you have grades. So that's one way to reduce. So this is very important. Number two is major change. If you are changing major from maths to physics or psychology or history, I have these numbers. If you change your major once, for any state, for example, it says if you don't change your major, you pay 10,000 per year. If you do one change in your life of graduation, it becomes like 29,000.
3 times.
Yeah, and then if you do it twice, it goes to 49,000. So that's a big difference between knowing your program and then graduating 4 years and then just making. And then a lot of our students, because they want to go out of home or house, out of the parents, they prefer going out of state. If you're out of state and you do the same thing, if you graduate in 4 years, it is about 25,000. So if you're planning to be out of state, you better plan for your finances, because your first option should be in state in terms of the money you pay. That's 25,000. And then you are out of state, you do one major change, which probably are going to do because you're out of state, you're homesick, you're out there partying because nobody's there. There's a high probability that you would change one major. That would change it to 45,000. And then if you don't behave and then you do another change, it gotta be 65,000. So this is a trend. This is real, because students want to be out of town, out of state. But these are the challenges. So that's the other thing that I have to think. The other thing I would like to add is there are today some states have free college, completely free. For example, I see like New Mexico. I see some graphs here. There is a statewide free college teaching program. This is with few eligibility limits. So most probably you can make it. Number two, there are some states sponsor free college tuition based on income. So if you're from low income, underrepresented, you get free college. All right? But not all states. There are some states that does not have any of this. Unfortunately, Texas is one of them. So we don't have that option in Texas. But like California and New York, they have state-sponsored projects. And then, like you said, Dr. Green, you don't need to go 4-year college. You can do 2+2. 2+2 means you spend 2 years community college and 2 years finish your degree, like University of Houston. So 2+2 is the best way to go. I can give you an example. If you're taking English 101 at the University of Houston, the class size is 300, 400 students. The same class in community college is 20 students. So there's a big difference in terms of the quality. So there's no question in terms of the quality of the instruction and the amount of money you pay. You need to take this at community college. You don't need to take those classes at university level. A degree needs at least 120 credit hours. 120 is like you take 40 courses. And then you can bring up to 60 hours to as a transfer to a college, up to 60. But then you should be planning what 60 course credits you need to bring, because we cannot just accept everything. So if you do it the right way, a 2+2 is the way to go. That makes a big difference. And then it's much easier. And then 2+2 is another way of reducing money. So there's many ways to do that. It's not be something that, oh, money is my problem, I can go to school. And then the other way you can do is you can attend online classes. There are some schools that give you online for free and then take credit for that. That's another way not to pay more money. So online class is important. Something is also, I would like to mention this, the honors program. The colleges have what's called honors program. So this is for high achieving students. You gotta have a high GPA to join the program. Honors program is you can graduate all the Ivy schools, honors colleges. There are some colleges just doing honors classes. There are some, University of Houston is part of a big program. So students can join that program. If you do that, you get a lot of scholarship. And it's good to graduate from honors program. It's a plus program. So that's another way of reducing your money. The other is application for financial aid. There is a financial aid that you can apply for. We call it FAFSA. This one is based on this is a free application for federal student aid. They can apply for that. And it's based on income. So depending on how much money you have, they calculate and give you a difference. That's a big one. So, I mean, all this add up, and pretty much you can go out with no debt.
I just wanted to mention and colloquially they'll call it the FAFSA, and just wanted to mention that it can feel invasive because they'll ask you all about your money and your parents' money. So, but that is a basic requirement in most cases for receiving financial aid. And so just kind of get ready and understand that it is the doorway for you to access other funding that could be available to you. And so they'll often say, this is how much you can get through this method, but then to help build it out, they might say there's a job on campus, and so we'll give you this much free money, and then you work for this amount of money. And so they'll, so your whole financial package might be comprised of other little scholarships, some FAFSA money, and some work study. And so again, you're trying to put together what are all the monies I need in order to, get to the amount that I need per semester to continue the program. That when you're looking at colleges to attend, to think in terms of, what might be that stretch college. It might be out of state. It might have, strict requirements, but they, might fund it fully for you. Have a school like that in your repertoire of schools you're applying for. Have a school, that you have a better shot at being able to enter, and have that school that, if all else fails, this is where I'm going. And sometimes it's not so much academic that, sometimes students may, for example, have a sick parent, and they don't want to be far, in that case. So they might go to a community college initially, just for the situation that they're experiencing. And so when you're applying for college, to think in terms of applying to different types of school, that stretch school, that, very likely school, and then that, ace in the hole, that you got. The other thing is apply early. That a lot of times a school will have a fund for scholarships, and when it's gone, it's gone. And so you don't want to be the last person that's applying. You could have qualified, but a whole lot of other people that qualified got in before you. And so you want to be ready to apply. Also be aware that when you are applying, in Texas and other states as well, that you can do one application and submit it to several colleges at once. And so you want to look at those kinds of mechanisms that allow you to do that as well.
Is college for everyone? Can someone say, college is not for me? What do you say about this?
So there are other options that college may not be for everyone, and that there are just any number of programs in your field that will still allow you to pursue the kind of careers that you're interested in. It may be a trade school. There are different certificate programs that a person can go through. The whole idea here, I guess the greater message, we've spent a lot of time talking about college. The whole idea is that you need to continue your development, your education, your preparation beyond high school. And I think Dr. Moses made that point very clearly earlier. And so think in terms of continuing your development. And you know what's amazing, and I see it a lot in the College of Technology, a lot of times, as I mentioned, that whole maturity thing catches up with you, that you can start out, they'll let you in the door with, this certificate or whatever, but then you start looking around and you realize, I am just as good as this person at doing X, Y, Z. The only difference is they've got a degree. Mm-hmm. And so then come back. Know that now you've got an income, you pay for it. And so a lot of times an employer, I am a very strong proponent of students who are in a technical field. There are people who will pay for that degree. That is just such a rarity that there are opportunities to pay for that degree. And so when you see you need to come back, come back. I see a lot of people with beards in these College of Technology classes because they've been on the job and they see that they now need the education to back it up, to move forward.
Yeah, I guess pretty much that's the points raised here. Just want to add some numbers here. Trade school, if you go to trade school, like technical school, if you are a qualified electrician, you could get up to 56,000, which is equivalent to a bachelor's degree. Correct. So you don't have to go 4 years. So that's another option. It's a 1-year training, and then you become an electrician. And this is the average. You can go beyond, depending on how you do it. I see another number here. If you are an HVAC, this is AC technician. We are in Houston. We call them every day. Yeah, right. We have to wait. There's a lot of shortage on those technical fields, construction, and all this hurricane, all these disasters add up to this. People need to do this work. So HVAC pretty much get to 50 on average for doing that. So it can go up to 100,000 depending on your experience. But then, I mean, it's not just you have to go and do a degree. You could do technical schools, trade schools, and we have institutions close to Houston just giving those trainings. So that's another option to go to trade school. I think eventually it's about knowing your passion, who you are, what do you want to do. Are you an office person? Are you a field person? All this thing eventually depends on knowing yourself. Then go for it. And I know personally I've seen people going to trade school and doing very well now. They're very happy. They do their job. I had a student in my class. He was not traditional student. He was like between 50s and 60 years old. He's the oldest student I ever taught in my class. So he was on this type of field. He did a lot of work, and he was very successful. But he came back just to have fun in school, not for the money. But then he missed it.
Yeah.
But he got money to do that. And just to tell you a story here, we did research with him, and then he had to present this in New Mexico. It's a paper presentation. So we normally support the travel from the department. And then I got his reimbursement ticket, and he flew a first class flight. We don't do that. That's a corporate level. So he thought he could fly first class. And I said, what is this? This is how I do it. And then it's not just him and his wife, they're first class. So that's the life that you got used to. In academia, it's different. So they enjoy their life and then come back. So you do it either way. You start working and then come back to school, or you start school and then, yeah.
And it plays out in other fields as well. I have a friend who, basically went to some type of clerical school, and she moved up in that area. And so to be an executive secretary is, pays well. There are others who, in the whole social media arena, they did some certification kinds of programs there, and that's what they do, and they are able to support themselves and their family doing that. And so there are alternative ways to achieve your goals.
Thank you so very much for spending time out of your busy schedule. It means a lot to us, seriously. Thank you on behalf of myself and Frey Productions. Is there anything you want to add before we finish this session?
Yeah, I like this one, the
famous failures.
Failures.
Okay.
I want
go
you
ahead,
to say. No, I'm kidding.
No,
you know
no.
it much better.
No, you.
Okay, so the final thing is failing doesn't mean it's over. I got Steve Jobs. He says when he was 30 years old, he was left devastated and depressed after being removed from the company he started. He started a company and they removed him. But then Steve Jobs didn't take this as but he took it as an opportunity. Then he became very successful. Walt Disney, everybody knows. Walt Disney was fired from newspaper, and the reason was lacking imagination. That's funny. The best imagination is in Walt Disney. Now, how about Albert Einstein? Everybody says Einstein. You know what happened to him? When he was 4 years old, his teacher said, "You will never amount to much." Yeah, that's not a good thing to say to anybody. All right, so he did. Oprah is another one. She was demoted from her job as a new anchor because she wasn't fit for TV. It's interesting. So this is very inspiring. People getting to this level, but they went through many things. So if you're going through this thing, think of those people. You can make it. Wow. Beautiful. And it's not just in, look, Steve Jobs is in IT, Disney is entertainment, Oprah is in a different field, Einstein is in research, different field, Michael Jordan is sports. So it's not just one field, it's not an isolated problem. So it can happen to anybody.
You know, one of the things I kind of take away as I'm listening to that is having a confidence in yourself. And sometimes, and I don't know about it for the story with these individuals, but you know, sometimes someone can say something that's hurtful and disappointing, and it's just the trigger to make you turn around and go in the other direction. They may have been unimaginative or whatever, but that now I'm going to work on that.
Yeah,
and so let it be
good.
the turning point for you.
That's good.
Pastor Bible Owned Family, thank you again for watching this video. Please don't forget to share it with others who can benefit from this. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so. Until we see you next time, God be with you and God bless you.